Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Letting everybody in the session this morning. Getting started in just a minute.
So just something. Yeah, I think those.
Heather, are you doing the polls?
Yes, thank you, Tom. As we are getting started, we do have a poll for you all. Folks are joining us. If you'll take a minute to complete the poll.
It's not. It's dirty. That's how to know that.
I'll leave that up for just a minute as folks are joining us from our waiting room. Right, I will leave that up as we go ahead and get started. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us this morning for our recruiting and retaining employees in a post-COVID world. My name is Heather Fay, and I serve as the Regional Program Director and Bottom Advisor for the Roanoke Regional Small Business Development Center. Today, I'm joined by my colleague, Tom Tanner, Lead Advisor and Vet Biz Coordinator. Please add any questions you have to the chat, which you can find in the very bottom of your screen. If you open that up and want to post questions to our panelists today, or you have some best practices or tips or thoughts that would be helpful to your colleagues who are also interested in this topic, we welcome you to do that. We will have an interactive portion of this program a little bit later. But in the meantime, just a couple housekeeping things. We are recording today's session, and I will be sharing this with you all after the event is concluded today, and we will also be posting this to our website and to our YouTube channel. In addition, if you would please keep your microphone muted to minimize background noise. And if you are seeking closed captioning, that is available, and you may choose that option in the menu that appears at the bottom of your screen. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end our poll and share the results. So very interesting. There was a good split between what percentage of positions, do you currently have open? About 5% and greater than 10% of your positions. Those were an even split. And it seems overwhelmingly difficult was the main response for qualifying, the difficulty of hiring employees at this time. And the most difficult positions that you all are trying to fill are the 2 to 4 years of experience. Very, very interesting. We all know that this is not an isolated issue for any of you, and it's not industry specific. So we are hoping that today's conversation will provide some opportunities to share some best practices and ideas to support you all in your recruiting and retaining employees. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. And for those of you that are not familiar with the Small Business Development Center, we support current and future business owners through all stages of the business life cycle. Whether you are just exploring opening a business, you're managing a business, growing and expanding your business, or you're considering buying or selling a business, we are here to support you on your journey. The Roanoke Regional Small Business Development Center is funded through a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Small Business Administration and supported by America's SBDC, Virginia SBDC, and George Mason University. Local organizations, government offices, and businesses provide matching funds. Our host, who serves as our fiscal agent, is the Roanoke Regional Chamber of Commerce. We currently serve the Greater Roanoke area, Allegheny Highlands, and the Greater New River Valley. Our SBDC is a part of the state network of Virginia, and we are one of 27 different SBDCs. If you are not from the Roanoke region, we would be glad to connect you with our resources through the state office that can assist you in finding the SBDC that's closest to you. And I will post that website in the chat where you can find that really easily. We also have a couple upcoming events that I would like to share with you. We have a cyber awareness training for your business, Create Virginia, the Career Resilience for Artists, and Getting Back on Track, and our first ever Entrepreneur Retreat on September 17th. For more information for these and many other events, visit roanokesmallbusiness.org or feel free to reach out to my colleagues or I for assistance. All right, we have one other opportunity that we'd like to present to you all before we get started. The Virginia SBDC Network is working with a team of researchers to better understand the needs of entrepreneurs and small business owners throughout the state of Virginia. As a part of this project, we have been asked to talk with our clients and others who have attended our workshops to ask you all to participate in a conversation with the team that is available through this website. All data, including everything said during conversations with them, will be held completely confidential. When the report is delivered to the Virginia SBDC, they will not share any identifying information and will be only reporting their aggregate findings. I hope you will consider participating in this excellent opportunity for us to continue to improve and deliver our services to you. All right, now it is time for me to introduce our panel. Whoops. We are joined by an all-star group of folks today. I'm so excited. We have Morgan Romeo, Alec Siegel, and Ben Ballagh. Morgan is the Executive Director of Virginia CareerWorks, Blue Ridge, and the Chair of the Virginia Association of Workforce Directors. Morgan brings a breadth of knowledge and experience from program management and workforce development and program development in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Morgan has expertise in federal workforce programs, including WIOA, and a wide range of knowledge surrounding other workforce development and economic development initiatives, in the Commonwealth. Next, we have Alec Siegel. Alec is the Managing Partner and Search Director for Siegel Search. Siegel Search provides employment and recruiting services on a nationwide basis, but their concentration is in the Roanoke and New River Valleys, where the go-to firm when an organization has a critical headcount need. Siegel Search is extremely innovative and passionate about recruiting. They love playing matchmaker. And next we have Ben Ballagh. Ben joins us today with over 25 years of leadership and management in the service industry focused in healthcare and dining. Ben's hobbies include hiking, going to the gym, and when he has free time, he also enjoys anything that makes me laugh and trivia. So if you're looking for a good trivia partner, you need to hit Ben up. Ben is originally from Good, Virginia, and has a small family in the Roanoke area. We are so thankful for each of you this morning, and we will go ahead and get started with Morgan.
Thank you so much, Heather. I'm really excited to be here today and representing Virginia CareerWorks and the Virginia Association of Workforce Directors. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that Virginia CareerWorks as the workforce system can offer. But first, I want to talk to you a little bit about who we are and what we are. So next slide. So you guys might have seen Virginia CareerWorks with our logo, and Virginia CareerWorks is located throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia. We're the statewide workforce development system, and there's 14 regions that are devoted to enhancing and expanding the talent pipeline for businesses, including small businesses. Each of our regions has a workforce development board, which is what I'm the executive director of here, serving the Roanoke Valley and the Allegheny Highlands. And really our responsibility is to convene a multitude of workforce partners in the regions to make it easy for business to get everything they need without having to go to 15 different organizations. We work very closely with economic development, and we also manage and provide federal, state, and local funding that is provided to job seekers and businesses for job training and employment needs. You want to go to the next slide? Just to give you kind of a picture of what it looks like. But the 14 regions are broken up kind of interesting, but you'll see that there are 14 of us throughout the state. And if you are from somewhere other than the Roanoke Valley, just like Heather said, I am happy to connect you with your counterpart with Virginia CareerWorks in your location. Just drop me a line and I'd be happy to do that. Next slide. So just to give you a picture of kind of how we work and so all of the multitude of partners that we work with. Here's a kind of slide that kind of shows our network. Obviously, a lot of you are familiar with the Virginia Employment Commission for some good reasons, maybe some bad, but we'll say good for right now. Adult education, which helps our folks with GED, high school equivalency, and basic skills. Department of Social Services, so working with those that are receiving public assistance. Nonprofits and community-based organizations, that would be like your Goodwills and your community action agencies like the United Way, Total Action for Progress. Vocational rehab, working with folks with disabilities or who need accommodations for work. Obviously, economic development and businesses, community colleges, and a wide breadth of other folks that do workforce development. But again, so businesses don't have to go to all of these different agencies. We try to convene them and be your single point of contact to get your needs met. Next slide. So actually, our primary customer is business. And we serve job seekers too, but really our goal is to train job seekers and provide a skilled and ready workforce that meets your current and future job demand. And so by that rate, businesses are our first and most important customer, because we really want to make sure that you are surviving and thriving wherever you are in the Commonwealth and that you stay here and continue to grow your business. Next slide. So COVID obviously has created some fun times for all of us. And I think we all can agree that the moment that COVID hit our lives in March of 2020, it was all hands on deck to figure out how we can be innovative and creative and still keep our businesses and our organizations going. And that was not, we were not unique to that situation at all. We have lots of different business services that we provide throughout the state to small businesses, large businesses, to really help them, again, retain their employees, keep their employees, and grow their employees. With recruitment assistance and hiring events, obviously we do customized hiring events. We pre-screen candidates, free job posting, all that good stuff. The hiring events during COVID, we've done lots of virtual events, which actually have been really successful. And I think there'll be something that we keep in more of a hybrid approach going forward. Lots of employers have requested virtual events just for the convenience, because they don't have to take that time to leave their office, go to an in-person event, spend 3 to 4 hours. The virtual events can really be done while they're sitting at their desk working on other things. And when candidates pop up, they can meet them. So those were really something that we put in place that we think will definitely keep going. We've also been doing a lot of pre-screening through our statewide labor exchange system. So working with businesses that have a job opening that maybe it's a little bit of a niche, or you're just not finding anybody, or even if you're just posting it, working with those businesses to say, what are the skills you need? We go in to the 1.5, 2 million job seekers that are in our system and really look for those skills and give you resumes that meet those needs. Other things that we do include customized training. So we know that you guys need a skilled workforce, and sometimes that is working with our educational partners to really develop a training curriculum that meets your needs. A really, really great example of this I have for the Allegheny Highlands. A new company, Schaefer Rolls, actually came to the area. They're a supplier of Westrock. You guys probably know the paper mill there. But they had a really specific training need for their machinery. No one really provided that to work with those big rolls of paper and learning how to make those. We worked with the community college to actually develop a custom training program that all of their new employees go through. And that's something that the workforce system actually funds for them, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk with you all today. And Heather gave me this great opportunity. We have a lot of funding that can be really used in a flexible way to make sure you guys are meeting your training needs. We also provide labor market information on wages, how your business is stacking up against others that are providing a competitive wage and maybe some of those competitive benefits. That's been very popular these days to try to figure out if they're being competitive or not. And then we also provide information and referrals to other tax and incentive programs like the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, the Virginia Jobs Investment Program with VGIP, and other economic development incentives. So if you go to next slide. So this is my contact information. I'd be happy to speak with you guys or connect you with the right Virginia CareerWorks representative in your region to talk more about your small business needs and, really look at how we can help you individually. So there's my contact information, and I'll be here to answer questions afterwards, but I look forward to working with you all and helping you grow your small businesses in Virginia.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Morgan. I'm always amazed the breadth and depth. And every time I have an opportunity to talk with you or listen to one of your conversations, I always learn something new. There's just so many opportunities. So don't miss out on connecting with Morgan today and in the future. All right. Next up, we have Alec Siegel. Alec?
Good morning, everyone. So I grew up in Blacksburg, attended Virginia Tech, and when I graduated in '83, I moved up to Northern Virginia, and I got involved in recruiting in 1987, and I've been doing it ever since. Most of my clients were ranging anywhere from Fortune 100s to startup companies. A lot of the work was during the dot-com boom in the late 90s. I moved back to this area in 2003 and started building our practice here because it's such a growing area. So perspective I'm going to bring is most of the stuff we do is experience hires. We don't do, people right out of school. That's not our specialty. But I'm going to talk a little bit about just some trends and just thoughts on attracting employees, retaining your existing staff, and a couple of trends I'm seeing. One way to attract employees is provide referral incentives to your existing staff, have them do the legwork for you. Another thing companies should do, which they don't do very well, I don't think, is just network, attend events, join alumni associations, reach out to people you've interviewed in the past that maybe you like, but it didn't work out for whatever reason. Have a lot of companies swag, t-shirts, mugs, get the word out. A strong social media presence that you update constantly. A lot of people have social media, and the last time they touched it was several years ago. That doesn't put out a good message. And the best social media tool for recruiting is LinkedIn. If you're not active on LinkedIn, you're doing your company a disservice. Have creative job postings that show personality. Make sure you know the role intimately. Involve your team in openings. Know the value proposition of your company. Make sure everyone's on the same page. Sometimes a company will interview candidates and they'll talk to 3 or 4 different employees, and everyone has a different perspective of what the job really is, and you're not going to hire any people that way. Have open houses, have articles in the newspaper, make your application process more candidate friendly. Sometimes you'll run an ad and you'll have them complete this, questionnaire, and halfway through it, the candidate goes, it's not worth it. I'm not even going to apply. So those are some thoughts on just attracting employees. It is a tough market out there, and if you don't differentiate yourself, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. As far as retaining employees, you need to have strong benefits and perks, quarterly bonuses, stocks, things like that will keep someone around. A well-defined company culture that values trust, transparency, and a robust communication system. It's expensive to replace and train new employees. So make sure you know your top performers and make sure you keep them happy. And then if you have a couple non-performers or flight risks, be unprepared to replace them. Always have contingency plans. And another easy thing to retain, it doesn't sound like much, but have complimentary food and drinks and meals, and have movies and bowling alley outings and gift certificates and contests and things of that nature. Make the workplace fun. So trends that I'm seeing is, whether you like it or not, generally speaking, 50% of all employees are looking to leave their jobs anyway. So just be prepared that every employee you have isn't going to be there forever. So that's just the reality. With COVID, we've all realized that remote and hybrid remote is here to stay. So you better have a strategy around it. Now, some companies aren't able to do it, but if you can't have someone work remote, being prepared that that's a reality. And this is kind of silly, but so about 20 years ago, and all I do is interview candidates and companies all day long. But one great interview question, if y'all want to write this down, and it really works, just ask the candidate, tell me about a time you made a mistake at work, and then just be quiet. And the answers you're going to get are going to be across the map, but you're going to really have a good sense of a candidate. So that's, tell me about a time you made a mistake at work. And hopefully they'll own it and say they made mistakes and what they did to correct it. But again, it's just try it on your next candidate. So anyway, that's it. I'm done.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Alec. That is a great question. And I know in different interviews that I've had over my career, that's always been a question, and it definitely makes you think and shows a whole side of you and that we are human. And it gives an opportunity to show some of the character of the individual as well. So wonderful. Thank you so much, Alec. All right, next we have Ben.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I love that interview question, and I do ask it in some of the interviews that I conduct here. The scariest thing is when people reply that they have never made a mistake and they're just fine. They can't think of one. Those interviews don't last very long. Good morning, everyone. As Heather mentioned, I am a trivia fan, but you might not want me on your trivia team. I didn't say I was good at it, just said I enjoy it. Part of what I want to talk about today is just the experience recruiting and retaining employees. I am the executive director at Cave Spring Place, which is an assisted living center here in Roanoke, and we have 65 apartments. The pandemic was interesting. It continues to be interesting to us, but we've had success in that through relying on some very amazing team members in the healthcare industry, as well as in housekeeping, dining, and administration. General routine recruiting practices that we use here at our community is that we recruit every day, but our aim is 2 to 3 months in advance of where we are today. So while I may have an open position today and I want to fill that, if you're only looking at the next schedule or the next week or the next month, with the way that recruiting has been over the last year, you're going to end up being short-sighted. So I encourage you guys to think further into the future as far as where you see your needs coming. Your connection with your staff and interaction with them will give you some keys as to where where your openings will be, and that's going to help you make you a better, smarter, more proactive recruiter. For healthcare and for food service and housekeeping, you do want to have experienced individuals. And I go back to that poll from this morning. Anywhere from 1 to 2 years of experience in healthcare is a good start, but it doesn't necessarily, that's where the majority of our applicants come from. And that's where some very good proactive questions like the one Alec mentioned will give you some insight as far as what their experience has been like. So I encourage everybody to continue to do that type of interactive, tell me a story about when this happened, or tell me a story about, when you exceeded somebody's expectations. And once you start to drill in on that story, you can determine, what influence this person had in their own story and what talent they can bring to your team. In healthcare and in food service, I've learned that not many people use LinkedIn. So I will also add to that Facebook has been a valuable tool for us in our, as well as getting the word out and networking, with our current employees and getting an online presence with our current employees, but then also representing our company's Facebook page and then promoting it to other potential applicants. Facebook is nice because that door normally swings both ways, and that if I do have a potential candidate, I can also, find out what their personal life and what, is this person, what kind of pictures are they really posting on their Facebook page? Helps us get to know them. Finally, with recruiting, I've worked with the team very hard to make sure that we recruit as quickly and as fast as possible. And my goal is that if I'm trying to build a team, if I'm trying to staff a building, I need applicants, good applicants, to stop searching for jobs before they leave my building. So things that we've done are that if I have a good candidate that I know can fill the needs of the role and that they'd be good for the team, the job offer comes out that day. And I want them to have it before they leave the building, because then I know that I can move forward and continue to check references and background checks and do the things that I need to do behind the scenes. But more often than not, if I let somebody leave my building and they're still looking for a job, I'm going to lose that candidate to another healthcare provider or to another kitchen or to another housekeeping position. So, when we don't have a large team here, but I need to be able to, in this industry, when you're at a certain skill level and at a certain dollar amount per hour, people will continue to look until they get the first thing that comes along. The industry's fickle in that way. So that has helped a lot, grow our pipeline of applicants, is that we have a reputation of moving quickly on the right applicant. And that helped us go from being very understaffed in May of this year to being appropriately staffed, less than 2 months later. So those are just some generalized practices that we've used. We do network with local schools for healthcare. We do employee referrals, which I think is great. You got to promote those, and they do pay off in the long run. But then also making sure that that you help the applicants stop looking as quickly as possible. That helps staff your building the most. Thank you.
Great points. Thank you so much, Ben, for sharing. And that being able to be nimble, even on a small team, to be able to be responsive to an applicant that you really want them and have an offer, that's huge and shows the value. There's a symbiotic conversation in that piece as well. All right. Well, I thought at this point, I really would like this to be interactive. So if you all have questions for the panelists, if you'd like to unmute yourself, or if you have best practices that your industry or your business has seen successful or things that didn't work, I welcome the opportunity to share. I will keep an eye on the chat too.
Let me jump out, and I got a couple of questions here. I'd like to either
super. Okay.
ask the panelists, or if there's people as participants want to kick into this, is first off is, what are some of the creative ways to advertise for applicants? You see everything from nowadays to billboards, to radio, to YouTube advertising, to yard signs. You can see those little things that dance in the street, or people dressing up to attract people. What other ways are people using ways to find employees? This is both for the panel and for individuals in the participants. Anybody can drop.
Hi.
This is Alec.
Sorry.
Sorry.
No, go
You
ahead.
want to go first?
I didn't see a place where to raise your hand or whatever, so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I know that we've used Handshake through the universities. So like you can go on to and apply for that and put in what position that you're looking for, and it goes out to all the universities. And then you get an email that's, and they share their resume or what have you, and then you can proceed. So that's helped out a lot, especially for the clients that I've worked with that are more seasonal positions too. So, and then again, a lot of them get credit in school for working, and so, but it's called Handshake, and you can go to any of the universities in the area. Liberty, Radford, but it's all of the universities in one.
All right. Alex, you had a comment on that?
Yeah, one observation I've made is a lot of times when you run an ad, the people who are going to be looking at the ads is going to be a small minority because they're between jobs or looking. But if you really want to find good candidates, there's a lot of passive candidates, and the way to find passive candidates, they might be employed, but they're not necessarily looking, but if they're presented with an opportunity that might be better, they'll listen. And a way to do that is through LinkedIn or just networking or just going out there in the public. But again, if you're just running ads, you're only presenting it to a small marketplace. So I think you need to be creative and try to get a larger reach.
So a lot of the times what you're looking for are not the people who are unemployed. You're looking for the people who are employed that want to make a change.
Exactly.
So that's a different strategy than just running an ad in the paper or whatever. Anybody else have a comment on that?
Well,
Yeah,
I was
panel.
Yeah, quick comment, something we had that we used in manufacturing plants around the country that worked very well. It sounds silly and somebody already sort of mentioned it, but we'd put signage out in front of the plants, a nice looking sign, and we would state the positions we were looking for. And if we felt like we had a competitive wage situation where it would be attractive to attract an already employed person, but maybe they want to upgrade. And at the bottom, we would put the benefits. And believe it or not, that was far more effective than any type of media advertising that we did. It worked, not 100%, didn't fill all the jobs, but it was consistently better than advertising.
I was just going to mention the value of social media as well. I think one thing that we've learned over the pandemic has been, you can't just rely on one social media platform. You can't just do Facebook, and you can't just passively create an event and hope people will come. We have found great success with advertising some of our opportunities and hiring events through Facebook groups. So really joining a lot of the yard sale groups and the business club groups and the young professionals groups around. And if you share them in those places, you get a whole lot more traction with attendance, and then direct folks back to your website and things like that. The other thing I would suggest is definitely don't discount some of the seniors and young adults that are coming out into our communities. Connecting with your K through 12 schools to advertise your opportunities is a fantastic resource. Lots and lots of different kids. I will say I graduated from William Byrd here in Roanoke, and I had the perception that there were 0 jobs here. And I think that some of that perception still exists. So just letting the young adults in the region know that those opportunities exist is a really great way to recruit and get your future talent pipeline.
So another question is when you're going out to attract candidates, what are businesses? Again, this is kind of open to the panelists or anybody out there. Are you trying to compete against other businesses just through wages? Are you doing it through benefits? You're doing it through flexibility, the culture? What is it that you're using to attract one candidate over and your business over another business?
if I could kind of talk about that a little bit. Here at the credit union, we typically, it's really a lot how we're selling the position a lot of times. I know that sounds maybe a little cliche, but a lot of it is really more about culture. If we're being competitive, it's really about having that reputation and maintaining, that 5-star type of attitude. A lot of candidates that I know I interview or pre-screen over the phone typically do, they have all great things to say about what they've heard about the business here. And so I think it's important just to have that reputation, and then really kind of like a lot of times what I do is sell it on the benefits or the culture and maintaining a diverse community here. And so I think a lot of people are attracted to that, and we're finding good talent in that area.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
A comment about culture. So I work with candidates. I'm a career pivot strategist, and our national association talked with a lot of candidates who are doing public facing kinds of jobs, hospitality and airlines and some of those. And their biggest concern was for their safety. They said customers have become mean, and those customers that are mean oftentimes are the ones who don't tip. One person said, I got spit in the face for $2 an hour and no tip. And so how do you as a business help your employees understand that they will be safe in your environment and that you'll have their back when something like that happens? That's a big issue with candidates.
Thanks, Deb. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
I think it comes down to training, to be honest. A lot of it is just kind of training. I think a lot of times what I've seen is, and I've worked a lot of different jobs in my career, moving here from Colorado and the events industry and the hospitality industry. And a lot of it is just that comes down to training. I think sometimes we're not, having bartended for years and teaching a responsible alcohol training course, I learned that a lot of times it's really a lot about storytelling and sharing ways, and just those little, small sentences or ways to kind of diffuse problems or diffuse some of those things, and then turn around and just, a lot of it is just the words that you use. Like for instance, and when it comes to bartending, I learned over many, many years not to cut someone off. I learned to say, "Sir, you're cut off." I learned to say, things like, I can't serve you another drink right now. So it kind of eliminated the fact that they weren't going to get another drink. They may or may not, but essentially it was just how you speak, the speak that kind of comes out, and the words that you use and choose. You have to be very careful. And I think a lot of that comes through training and experience and having conversations. I think employees can, or you can learn a lot from your fellow employees and how they handle situations, and kind of communicate that across the board, because I've picked up a lot of things from other coworkers. A little food for thought, sorry.
Great, thank you.
Points. Got a couple questions in the chat. Tanya is asking, how do the panelists address the talent acquisition challenge to attract and retain new hires to our area, or to your area if you're bigger in a different part of the state than this area in general? Any thoughts from the panelists or other participants on?
This is Alec. I can answer that. So a lot of the people that I'm recruiting for this area, and again, they're experienced hires, and most of these companies might have deeper pockets than other organizations, so they can pay for relocation. But what I've found successful is finding someone who maybe grew up in this area and really has a compelling reason to want to get back to this area. Maybe they graduated Radford or Virginia Tech or, Mason, or, just wherever they live, or they grew up in the area and want to get back. And then you don't have to sell them so much on the area. You just need to tell them about the opportunity. But lots of times, if they're not familiar with this area, it is an extreme challenge to try to get them to get back to this area. But if they're already from this area and have a favorable view, then it's not a hard sell at all, is what I found. You just got to have the right job and the right company that's going to make the move easy for them.
Hi. I was going to elaborate on that too, because I'm also hearing from the talent acquisition professionals that I speak with that even if they're trying to hire someone locally or someone returning to the area, the housing market is so difficult now that people are having a hard time, not just buying a home, but gosh, just renting a home. I mean, the stories I'm hearing about renters is just as competitive. So, you know, I mentioned interim homes because I think it's one strategy that can be a differentiator, but I also wanted to mention that because I think there are other kinds of programs out there. As an interim homes business development manager, I speak with a lot of people on both sides of the acquisition and retention strategy, but you know, I find there's ways that they're trying to protect that talent from going to the next job, right? You want to keep them there in rotational management programs or other kinds of training that might engage them and make them feel rewarded and developing their own skill set. But there are also state programs I'm learning, state and federal programs that the state ones I'm just most excited about that are helping businesses that are your clients to offset the costs of some of that expense, whether it's a training program, an onboarding initiative that you're developing to really get people, you know, engaged quickly, or even something like the relocation and temp housing that my company at Interim Homes offers. So I wanted to mention that the one that I just heard about is funded by the state, and it's called Lead for IT. But it's not just for IT companies. Apparently there are programs that'll offset the cost that the employer can apply towards anything, whether it's a recruiting cost to your agency for helping them capture that talent, or onboarding and training, or something else like Interim Homes provides for temporary living. So I wanted to share that with the group.
Thanks, Tanya.
Super. Thank you so much, Tanya. All right, a couple other questions, and these were actually sent in ahead of time, so I wanted to address these. For the panel or others that are joining us today, is there an HR system you can recommend using to automate the hiring process? What do I do to retain employees and keep them happy without compromising work performance, etc.?
And that's actually for anybody who may be using a system. So any of the participants, et cetera, not just the panelists.
Hi. I don't want to. I was going to share. I was hearing and a couple of other calls. Of course, there's all, you know, there's all kinds of platforms that are out there. But one that I heard of recently that I know GE is using. This is a big company, but I know this is a very customizable solution, you know, for small companies too. It's called Benevo. And I was really impressed by it because it helped them attract interns like out of university or anywhere, attract people and then track them through time. So they could see over the period of hire to development, the return on the investment in training that individual. And that's something I hear a lot of companies want to have, but don't have. So Benevo is one that I've learned about, Benivo. If anyone was wanting to check that out. And they have interesting calls also typically on Wednesdays that show case studies. LinkedIn.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya.
From the candidate side, make that application process easy, just like Alec and Ben were talking about. Lots of times I'll talk to HR people and I'll say, it'll take somebody 3 hours to fill out your application. They'll go, oh, that can't be possible, but it is. And that's where people get stopped along the way. Make sure that your system, whatever it is asking the primary questions you need answered and not much more. And that's a key thing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Deb. Okay, a couple other questions. What would you include in a listing to potential employees that would make your business stand out in a good way?
And probably even a little addition to that I would throw in is kind of what's the creative ways that you use to write a job description, because that's what's attracting people to fill out your application. Is anybody using anything unique, etc., to write their job ads? And again, this is for a panel or participants. We're just looking for as many ideas as we can.
Well, like we sometimes use, a lot of times I think a lot of candidates are calling in and they want to know about the opportunities, especially if it's an entry-level position. So it's really kind of giving, using words like, for instance, or phrases that attract them on those job postings. So, you mentioned something about, I believe it was Alec or someone had mentioned something about job postings with personality. So I think, something like come grow with us and giving them the opportunity to, you have an entry-level position here, but, there are opportunities for growth, and then having those conversations when you do reach out to them and talk about that.
Great. Anybody else? I'm sure other people got some ideas.
Yeah,
Sure. Something that I've used in the past is I use employee testimony, and I have current employees comment on the things that they like about working here. And I will include that as part of the recruiting process so that people understand that there's a culture behind the job posting. And again, I've also done peer-to-peer interviews, which gives the person to interview with a potential peer. That's a great way to get some insight both ways, because they're going to be different with somebody that they feel that they're a peer with, and then also they're going to ask the questions that they really want to know, not just the ones that they think I want to know. So those are good opportunities as well.
Those are great points, Ben. Ben, do you actually use your employees as part of your advertising strategy of putting their face in front of it rather than a corporate face?
In a way, yes. Our assisted living center is owned by a much larger parent company out of Chicago. So job descriptions are pretty concrete as far as what I can, write and or not write. But what I do try to do is, particularly during a COVID state, our building was locked down in a way where I really couldn't bring people into the work area. So what I did was I would bring the work area to them, and I would have people meet on a one-on-one basis to say, our employees would describe this place as, this way. And I think that builds a connection and an adherence for, somebody that's not quite sure if they fit in. It gives them the opportunity to say, oh, well, this is the kind of work area it is, and these are the people that I would be working with. I feel differently about it than when I just first walked in the door and saw Ben staring at me. So yeah, that as far as marketing it beyond that on like a digital, beyond that, I think, networking online and saying, hey, if I have an employee that shares our Facebook page or our job postings and says, hey, this is a great place to work, that's a great way to get the word out as well.
How does your peer-to-peer work? In other words, after you interview a candidate, do you then kind of bring in an employee and then you leave the room and let them kind of talk? Is that the kind of procedure you use? I like that because I haven't even thought about that. Yeah.
So what we've done in the past, I've done a couple of different techniques. Currently, I'm just doing exactly what you said. If a person's a real candidate, but I want to make sure that they are, I want to judge how much we could retain them or how quickly I think they would get up to speed. I will have a peer-to-peer, and I tee up my employees a little bit. I'm like, don't ask them if they're pregnant. Don't ask them if they've got, some of the buzzword questions. But I really want to, have that conversation. And I do leave the room because I do trust my staff to get a good read on people, and then also to promote our business in a way that it wants to be represented. Other techniques that I've used is we actually had a job that was very much behind the scenes, and we would arrange for job shadowing, which was 2 to 3 hours of just shoulder to shoulder. They couldn't touch anything, they couldn't do anything, they could just watch the job to see if they could see themselves doing it. And again, that's not something that I was in place with. I would set it up, I would walk away, and the first time I ever tried it, the applicant looked me dead in the eye and said, "This job is not for me, this does not work." And I said, "Thank God we did job shadowing, because I was going to hire that person and now I don't have to." So just different ideas that have worked well for me in the past.
Great, thanks. Morgan, you had a comment?
Yeah, I think two things. That just from what we've seen when we're helping, folks apply for jobs and look for jobs for their new employment opportunities, the first thing that deters them is if you don't list a wage. Even if it's just a range, if they don't see that wage on there, it doesn't entice them to apply. So I think that way you're almost missing out on candidates. It's not that they expect that they want to get paid too much. It's just they feel like when you don't post that wage, is it worth their time to apply? So that's one thing that I've definitely seen deter job seekers. The other thing is just keeping in mind what's on your job description, kind of echoing what Deb said earlier. 9 times out of 10, when we talk to a hiring manager or a floor manager about what they're looking for, it doesn't match the job description at all. And typically that means in years of experience or education required. The difference between required and preferred is a huge one. It deters a lot of candidates. So if you say that, 5 to 10 years of experience is required and then it's not, you've lost out on a ton of applicants that could be applying for your jobs and things like that. So just be really careful about reviewing your job descriptions on, maybe an annual basis, and really conferring with your hiring managers on what they're looking for, because you want to be flexible and make sure that you've got an applicant pool that is wide.
Thank you. Vicki brought up a great program, which is I was just going to mention about is both referrals and bonus programs. And questions I had about both of them. For the referral program, how do most people use those referral programs? How much they pay, how quick they pay it? But even more, a question about bonus programs of how do they work? How do you pay them? And how do your existing employees feel about somebody getting a bonus that's just starting and they're not? So anybody open for that? Or Vicki, you can comment about your program, et cetera. Or not.
Well, here at the credit union, we do have a pretty good employee referral program, and it's worked out well for our entry-level positions for the most part. So, we kind of require, a form. So if someone has a potential candidate or someone that they might know that would be a really good candidate, they fill out the form, send it to us, usually right before the applicant actually applies through our online, through Indeed or some other resource, or through the website. And then of course we pay $250 if they do get hired and they're employed here. We hold on to that information, and then we pay $250 after 6 months to that employee that referred that individual. And then after a year, we pay another $250. So $500 for that first year. And it's working out quite well.
This is Alec. I have a thought on as far as quarterly bonus or annual bonus for retention. So back in the day, companies used to do just annual bonuses. And what they would find is there'd be a lot of, after that bonus was paid out annually, a lot of those people would leave for a new job. And so you'd have a lot of people to replace. Now companies are paying quarterly bonuses. And it helps with that mass attrition if for whatever reason they're not happy. So that's something to be thinking about if you're a company paying quarterly bonuses, because employees, it's nice to realize, hey, I'm going to get a little bit of money every 3 months versus wait a whole year, because a lot of people might just be festering that they want to leave, but they got too much of a bonus to coming their way in March. So that's why companies are going quarterly instead of annual bonus.
Is anybody else paying is doing a referral program or doing a bonus program, a sign up bonus program that you want to talk about?
Can you hear me now? This
Yes.
is Vicki. Okay. Sorry, I didn't answer earlier. On our referral bonus program, one of our hardest areas to recruit in is up in the Harrisonburg-Stanton area. And so we amped up the sign-on bonus to a $2,000 sign-on bonus. And we pay that out in increments. On their first day, they get, the very first day they're here for training, they get a $250 amount. And then after 2 weeks, they get $450. And by the end of the first year, they've gotten their full $2,000. So that's paid out in increments. Then on our referral bonus for Stanton, we amped that one up for that area to $1,200 for the employees. And that has worked very well for us. Now, in our other areas, we don't have as much difficulty recruiting. So the referral bonus is $750. The sign-on bonus is $1,000. Now, when we implemented the sign-on bonus, we met with all of our employees and we explained to them that there are certain positions within our company that are extremely hard to recruit for. And that's why we were putting a sign-on bonus out there, but that also we were giving them the opportunity to recruit for us also so they could get a referral bonus. And it's gone over very well. We didn't get any backlash from it, especially in Stanton. You know, referral bonus is $1,200, sign-on is $2,000, but we've got no negative feedback from it at all because they all realize we're having a lot of difficulty hiring right now. Of course, I'm looking for skilled heavy equipment operators, laborers, and right now they are just really hard to come by, including CDL drivers. So we had to go pretty drastic on what we were going to do to try to recruit.
Great. Anybody else offering referral or sign up bonuses or referral programs in their businesses?
Yeah, one quick thing is I have a client who last week told me this tip, which was really good. He has a retention bonus quarterly, like somebody else had mentioned, but he also does a hiring bonus if the person stays 90 days. The retention bonus is $750 and the new hire bonus is $500, but only if they have perfect attendance. It's scaled down, significantly for missed days. So regardless of the reason, they have to have perfect attendance to get the retention bonus, which has worked very effectively. Before that, he'd still have people lay out. And since he put that in place, he's had a much higher level of retention, and also people, coming into work and not as many absenteeisms as he had before.
Great, thank you. I guess one last quick question, unless anybody else has any comment on that, is what's anybody's thoughts on using those services like Indeed, Zip, LinkedIn Hiring? Is those all good services, or newspaper, or any of those things still valid or good best practices?
We've been using Indeed, but the problem with Indeed, we actually have an applicant system where the applicants, if they go out to our website, they can apply through the applicant manager. But when you post a job on Indeed, they have to apply through Indeed. So they send their resume is from Indeed, and the email address that is on that resume is also an Indeed email address. And what we're finding out when we send them an application to complete online, they never check those emails. So
Okay.
you're getting applicants, but you're not getting any response from them.
Yeah, good point. Anybody else had any positive or negative of any types of services? Somebody mentioned Nextdoor. That's not one I'm familiar with, but yeah, there's a bunch of them out there. So has anybody had a positive or negative of any of the other services? So I guess nobody's had really any experiences. Okay. All right.
I was just gonna say on Nextdoor, you know, it's a pay for service. I do real estate as well, and you're paying for your zip code. I mean, if you're posting information on there, whoever is seeing it may be those that are opting in or other service providers. It is a pay for service. It's not necessarily as clean a referral in my experience. But you know, it's great for community updates. I definitely see that.
All right, Heather, I think you want to wrap things up.
Yes, we are right at 9:30. So thank you all for joining us. I did see there was a couple fun, creative job postings. I'm not sure if you guys saw them in the chat. Amanda had posted, we're looking for a Monica, not a Rachel, for all of our friends, fans out there. Be fun. It matches your company vibe, especially our small local owned businesses. People appreciate this and often seek out humanness. And then Deb shared, my favorite creative recruiting tactic was in Meridian would have margaritas on their deck overlooking 581 with a sign that said, if you worked here, you could be having margaritas too. So great opportunity to really show some of your company culture through those, and like Amanda mentioned, showing the humanness of your business. But thank you all so much for joining us. A huge thank you to Morgan and Alec and Ben and each of you who were willing to share some ideas and help each other out on this journey. Know that we are all here we're all in this together. And if we can be supportive and connect you to other folks, please let us know. We're happy to do that. Or if we can be one-on-one support through the SBDC, we're happy to do that. I will be sending out a link to the slides as well as the recording. So stand by for that a little bit later today. And thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.